Hey everybody, it's John Voorhees, and I'm back with an NPC Next Portable Console, all about the games we take with us, the handhelds that we take with us. And I have my two co-hosts with me, Mr. Federico Vitici. How are you, Federico?
Hello, hi.
It's good to have you, And Brendon Bigley over in New York City. Hey, Ned, how you doing, Brendon?
I'm doing fantastic. What a day, huh?
Yeah, we're all a little excited today, I think. I think we're all very, very excited because of some Steam news. So we are going to be talking all about Valve's announcements today. And I don't know, where should we I think we just need to like dive right into this because there's so much that was announced.
Can we do a victory lap first? Or
Yeah, exactly.
I think we should do a little bit of a victory. Wait, let's all break our arms, patting ourselves on the back for a few predictions that we've made over the past few months.
So I think that's exactly where we should start, if anything, because Valve had a series of announcements yesterday, and it's basically a whole bunch of things that we said, sort of trying to look into the future. Things like we think Valve is gonna get into the home console market, and they sure are with the comeback of the Steam machines. And some of our bolder predictions were, there's real potential for Valve to kind of do Steam on Android at this point, given the performance that we're seeing from this like Game Hub, a Game Native, and these Android smartphones even running PC quality games, AAA games.
Right.
And sure enough, they also announced Steam running on Snapdragon. So we're going to talk about all of those. But yes, we have been largely correct, even in some of our bolder predictions. I don't know, we deserve to feel good about it. So that we can say about us that, we did a pretty good job. But yes,
it's really easy to have imposter syndrome when you have a podcast like this. And every once in a while, there are moments like today where you're like, maybe all of this time I spend crawling around on the internet in the mud is worth it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Maybe all the doom scrolling was for something after all. But yes, so essentially, Valve had this announcement where they announced 3 different pieces of hardware with also a software platform story. There's the comeback of the Steam machine. This is 10 years to the month after the original Steam machines and their terrible flop from 2015. The Steam machine is coming back as a little cube. I saw, by the way, someone referred to that as the Gabe Cube. And I cannot stop thinking about the Gabe Cube.
I love it.
Anyway, it's a little cube. It's 6 times more powerful than a Steam Deck. Goes in the living room. Goes on your desk. It's a Steam console. We're gonna talk about that. There's the new Steam controller. This is also a follow-up to the much maligned, weird,
bulbous
with 2 touchpads that I actually own a unit of.
Do you?
Oh, do you have one?
I do have one. I should go grab it. I got it on eBay months ago. As a bit that I actually
ago. Oh, that's funny.
That I actually never did on the show for like 25 euros on eBay, and I never did the bit because then I realized I got the controller and I thought, oh my god, this is terrible. Like I understand why this went nowhere. But there's a new Steam controller that looks like a Steam Deck with the screen lopped off and the 2 halves sort of joined together.
Yep.
And then there's the Steam Frame, which is a VR headset that is optimized both for streaming and for locally installed games. And that headset is not any regular headset. Is running on a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 system on a chip, and it can emulate Steam games on Android using Proton and a new emulation layer called FEX, F-E-F-E-X, made by Valve. It's a lot.
Okay, wait. I want to do a correction there because I also thought it was made by Valve. Apparently, Valve has been contributing a lot to this project, but it's been around for a little bit.
Okay, good to know. I didn't realize that either.
Interesting, even better. Okay,
yeah.
So
that's really good to know that it's open.
Also, before we close with the opening statements, Valve doesn't have anything to share about a Steam Deck 2 at this point. All of these devices are coming out prices to be revealed also in early 2026. We have no official pricing info, some pricing hints that we can talk about later, but no pricing information yet. These are launching early 2026. And it kind of makes sense when we heard the rumor that Valve was taking its sweet time with the Steam Deck 2, saying, maybe 2027. Now I kind of get it. And we can talk about that later.
Yeah, they've had their hands full, yeah.
Yeah, and essentially, Valve is now entering the console market. The console wars are kind of back. Xbox is kind of screwed. And Valve has an ecosystem of devices now.
Yeah.
So that's the introduction.
I do think Xbox is the biggest loser here.
Yeah.
Easily, by far.
Yeah. I mean, we've been saying on the show forever, and I feel more than ever as of yesterday, like they were so late to getting the full screen experience out the door. And even then, as we've said many times, like I tested it for about a month. Like it feels like a stopgap. It doesn't feel like a real usable thing. I mean, it is usable, but like it doesn't feel like a thing you would want to be using all the time.
Yeah, it's like a baby step in the right direction. Right.
Meanwhile, Valve has not only perfected the handheld OS, but has now gone backwards and is perfecting the desktop OS simultaneously.
Turns out it's all about software, which I think is really the big story here. I mean, yes, this is a hardware story, and we got an announcement of 3 different devices, but the thing that is driving this and that I think gives Valve the potential to be very successful is Proton. It's SteamOS. It's everything that runs these games.
Our very own Brendon did a video about this last night on Wavelengths on YouTube, and I made a note out of something you said, Brendon. You said, and the thing that makes Valve's entire hardware strategy work is SteamOS, not the actual hardware, but the software that runs on it.
Yep.
That's really the point. So before we get to that, let's talk about the Steam Machine. So the big important announcement, this 6-inch cube that runs SteamOS. So it's obviously Linux based.
It's kind of a fan with a computer in it.
It's a 6-inch cube that has a massive 120 fan with this custom heatsink, giant heatsink. Yeah. It's really basically just ventilation and airflow and heat dissipation with with 2 different chips inside of it. So this is powered by a 6-core AMD Zen 4 CPU. Goes up to 30 watts as a 4.8 gigahertz boost mode. The GPU is a semi-custom AMD RDNA 3 labeled the Navi 33 GPU. Has 28 compute units, goes all the way up to 130 watt TDP, and has 8 gigabyte of DDR6 memory. So the 8 gigabyte is already like one of the more contentious points in the community that I've seen. Essentially, we're going to have in the show notes a post on X by Kerry Golomb, who's a YouTube creator that has been talking about this stuff for months. Essentially, we should expect when Valve says this little cube is 6 times more powerful than a Steam Deck, that is essentially PS5 level performance. We're looking at PS5 level performance. A bunch of publications and YouTubers went into Valve's offices a couple of weeks ago. They had an embargo yesterday. One of the benchmarks that they saw, Cyberpunk 2077 running, averaging 60 to 65 FPS at 4K, but it was 4K upscaled from 1080p with medium settings and basic ray tracing using AMD FSR 3. That is essentially PS5, maybe even a little bit more than a PS5 level of performance for Cyberpunk 2077 and medium with basic ray tracing running at 60 frames per second. Right. So that is what we are getting. Now, that said, there's obviously the custom cooling system that I talked about. It's basically, like John said, a little cube with a fan and a heatsink that also happens to run SteamOS and video games. You have
Doesn't
Wi-Fi.
It look so much like DeepMind from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Also,
yeah. Mm-hmm. It's very fun because it has this customizable, like this swappable front panel design.
Yeah, it's magnetic.
It's magnetic, and in theory, people will be able to make their own front panels for the Steam machine. Valve will release the CAD models for 3D printing and for other accessory manufacturers to make swappable panels. They even had a demo that they said they're not going to release it as an official accessory, but there was a unit at Valve's office with an e-ink display as the front-facing panel of the
I'm
cube.
so bummed it's not real. I want that so badly.
I really hope that they can make it real.
Somebody's gonna make it. I saw Dbrand is already promoting, and I think maybe taking pre-orders for like weighted companion cube faceplate.
Yeah, I would think that you would just have to plug it into the one of the USB-C ports somehow, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This thing also, as part of the consistent narrative that Valve had, not just for hardware, not just for SteamOS, but also for streaming. I think they had a really compelling story for streaming games locally. This thing has 4 antennas, 2 for Wi-Fi 6E. Sure, not Wi-Fi 7, but we're going to talk about price. They need to keep the costs down.
Yeah, they do.
2 antennas for Wi-Fi 6E, 1 dedicated for Bluetooth, 1 dedicated for the stream controllers. And I think this is and obviously it's funny because it's not funny. It's interesting that they're using like a really clever piece of engineering in that they're using the heat dissipation components. So the fins of the heatsink and I believe a part of the fan as well as basically to separate the signals from the antenna and the rest of the unit. So everything is serving double duty in this cube design, which is really, really
including even like the dock. The dock for charging the controller is both for charging it and for transmitting the wireless signal to connect to the Steam machine.
Yep. The power supply is integrated and also serves as RF shielding. Just like everything else. So it's a cube that does not have, these are specs from 2023, 2024. This is just like the Steam Deck when it came out. These are not bleeding edge specs.
No.
Right? They're almost a couple of years old. But so was the Steam Deck when it came out. And the secret sauce of the Steam Deck was in realizing that even though when it came out in 2022 was a device with specs from 2020, it was still more than enough to run even some AAA titles at low settings. I remember because I finished Elden Ring on my Steam Deck when it came out. This is going to be, I think, the same story. I think it's not going to be, something that runs on Strix Halo. But, and this is why I want to have a conversation with you both, I think that is the most Nintendo that Valve has ever been. Like, how do we make something that can be easy to use, runs on SteamOS, people can just plug and play? It's going to be good enough to run even the latest, God of Wars and GTAs from Steam,
right?
Cyberpunk at medium settings with ray tracing. Most people will likely think that that's enough. We're going to use upscaling. We're going to have specs that are a couple of years old, and we're going to ship a console, ideally under $1,000. And then there's a whole conversation about price matching the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox that we need to have. But we're going to use specs from and components from a couple of years ago to make a compelling package that should be good enough for most people.
Yeah.
What do we think, gang?
I'm unbelievably excited. I'm unbelievably excited about this because I do think it's, to me, what they showed off. I think you're right to compare it to the Switch in that the idea is you press a button, you download your game, you start playing. I mean, that's just not something that's possible with a Windows PC right now or a Windows handheld. It's just not possible. And I think the icing on the cake is their cloud saves and syncing. Because this thing's going to be plugged in. It has 1 gigabit per second Ethernet available. You will play on your Steam machine. You'll shut it down. You can always resume it and pick up right where you left off. Or you can just go over to your Steam Deck, open that up, and there's your save. Because, the Steam machine, unlike, the Steam machine is going to be connected to the internet all the time. I think it's to me, it's exceptional in its simplicity more than anything else.
Doesn't it immediately make you like kind of slap your forehead thinking about what we talked about last week about the downloads on sleep of it all?
Yeah.
You know, they just updated SteamOS last week to allow downloads while in sleep mode, which sounded like one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, why wasn't that there the whole time? And, you know, was a frustration point for a lot of people. But now it's like, oh, of course, it's because the box is just sitting there. I mean, I'm like, I forgot I could be this excited about hardware. If I'm being totally honest, like this got announced. It was so funny because I was in the middle. I saw the leaked images, which I posted in our group chat. I saw the leaked images. I immediately started making a video about it. And at the end of that video, I said something to the effect of like, who knows, maybe it'll be officially announced by the time this video comes out. And as I was editing that bit of dialogue, I was like, let me just go look. And it was announced. It was like
incredible.
Already announced. So I was like, okay, we'll scrap that whole thing and start over. Yeah, I mean, this is so ridiculously exciting. And I feel like, you know, I said it in my video and I'll say it again, but it just feels like one of those things that is possibly the answer to the question we have had for months and months and months at this point. Like the console market is just feeling really bizarre. Like I just, you know, Sony even this week just had their, they had like a state of play that was only in Japan. And it ended with this whole segment that was like, we want to celebrate 5 years of the PlayStation 5 by reminding you that the PlayStation 5 exists. They didn't announce anything. They were just like, it has the DualSense Edge. Yeah. And did you know that there's a Pro version? And we have, you know,
here's our catalog.
Astrobot's a game you could buy if you're interested in it. And like, that's not the kind of thing you do when you're like super, super confident. Like, obviously, PlayStation 5 is, you know, winning this generation, quote unquote.
Sure.
You know, heavy quotes on that. But like winning this generation. But still, I mean, to me, that company feels like one that is like very much just playing it as safe as possible. Microsoft's out doing whatever they're doing at this point. And it's like the perfect time for another entrant in the space. And I feel like SteamOS in particular is like the silver bullet. Like it is the thing that makes this whole thing work.
Yeah, I wonder whether the timing of the announcement was, you know, like Xbox, Microsoft and Sony both announced their price increases, and Valve's like, yeah, we got to announce this now because this is perfect. This is the perfect time to announce this because they just shrunk the difference between our potential prices. I mean,
yeah. So it's worth mentioning again, like we don't have a price on this thing. Right. That's a thing I think we'll talk about. I also do want to make it very clear, like this thing is not going to come out and supplant the Xbox or the PlayStation. This is like this first generation Steam machine that Valve is releasing is not going to run away and become the best selling console of all time. Just like the Steam Deck is exciting, but also like a pretty niche device. This, I think, will also realistically be a pretty niche device at first. But it really comes down to what Valve's internal temperature on it is, right? Like even in the messaging that they've already released via all of this press that they invited out to Valve headquarters, they're not even thinking about it as a console as much as they're thinking about it as a hybrid console and PC. Like they were showing video and images of people like doing their jobs, their everyday jobs on it.
Yes.
You know, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. That is part of the appeal of having, you know, this, you know, fork of Linux that they're building. But it is worth mentioning that like they are not thinking about it from the perspective of this is a new entrant in the console wars the same way I think we all see it as, because now is the right time for that.
Yeah, I think they see it as less of an appliance than Microsoft and Sony see their devices as. I mean, it's like you said, they see it more as a computing device because they showed somebody doing like 3D rendering or something with Blender or some app like that, which I thought is interesting. I mean, I don't think that it's something that I would do, but you know, between SteamOS and you know, the other secret sauce for Valve is the library. You know, a lot of people have a very large Steam library. I have a huge Steam library. Games are on sale constantly on Steam, and I pick up games here and there, and I could pick up a Steam machine and have hundreds of games to play day one, which is not what I could say about the Xbox Series S or X or the PlayStation 5.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is that, so obviously the Steam Deck 3 years ago was very much inspired by the Nintendo Switch. and Valve saying, well, we think there's something to the idea of play console games on the go. But instead of continuing down that road with the Steam Deck 2, instead of continuing to follow the Nintendo approach, Valve is saying, no, we're going to have a Steam machine in your living room, on your desk, and we're going to have another handheld. So they're more like Sony from 15, 20 years ago from that perspective. Like they're saying, well, we're going to have the console, and that's going to be more powerful, and then we're going to have the handheld. The difference, I guess, is that they have a really compelling story about streaming and cloud saves and the ecosystem, which is not obviously something that Sony had back in the PSP or the PS Vita days when they had the console and the handheld, but there was no ecosystem really.
What do you guys think about this notion that you'll be able to swap micro SD cards between these devices? That to me is both interesting, and I'm not sure how that's going to work. Because
surely better than buying a PSP or a PS Vita memory stick. That I used to do. Yeah, there you go.
Of course, I have one on hand.
Yeah,
what a messed up existence. Anyway, yeah, you go, Federico. Sorry.
No, I think it's one of the many things that Valve has to say because it's nice. Like they're saying, oh, it's a PC. You can use it as a PC. We all know how it's gonna go, right? That you're gonna. Very few people are going to do it. Who wants to juggle SD cards on a daily basis?
Right.
I think it's nice that it's possible, technically speaking. I don't want to do it.
I'm never going to do it.
Yeah.
Not once will I do that. I don't have when I had a Steam Deck, I didn't have a micro SD card in there. In my ROG Ally, also, I don't have an SD card in. I just upgraded the internal storage and just kind of chill with that.
It is worth mentioning, I think, that the Steam machine, the one part, it's not very upgradable because the thing is densely packed with hardware inside.
Yeah.
But you can get to the SSDs. The SSDs, I think they're the two variants that they have announced are 512 gigabytes and 1 terabyte.
Yes.
So you'll be able to get in there. I don't think they said what the maximum is, but you might be able to go in there and put in like a 2 or a 4 terabyte if you want.
Yeah, it's so densely engineered. I mean, obviously somebody will try. So when it comes to pricing, Valve didn't say anything, but in different interviews, and I checked a bunch of articles and videos, they repeated this line where instead of saying, it's going to be priced like a console, they said it's going to be, the pricing is going to be comparable to a similar spec PC. Now, it seems that the consensus is from multiple people that if you were to spec this PC from a couple of years ago to today, you probably would be below $1,000, right? You would be somewhere around $750 to $800. So we're talking PS5 Pro level pricing. The problem is that if you were to build this yourself today in that 3.5 liter super compact form factor, it would be much more expensive because that kind of build, you cannot just do it on your own. It's very difficult to do that kind of super compact, highly engineered build.
I assume when they say that, they're not talking about people making it themselves. They're talking about people buying laptops,
right?
And that kind of thing.
But let's say that we're talking below $1,000, right? Because that fork between 500 and 1,000, right? That's where that's a spectrum, and you go from base level PS5 to PS5 Pro pricing to above PS5 Pro pricing, like $900, like $999. And I think, obviously, I understand if Valve doesn't want to repeat what they did with the Steam Deck 3 years ago, where it was probably sold at a loss, right? It was not sold at a profit. But at the same time, if you want to make arguably the reason why the Steam Deck became the only PC handheld that sold millions of units and not hundreds of thousands of units, is that it was affordable and you could get one for $400 or something, right? And I'm concerned that anything priced above a PS5 Pro could be immediately, for a lot of people, be not something that they want to purchase,
Yeah,
the PS5 Pro, it's worth mentioning, is $750 MSRP these days.
Yes,
it launched at $699 and has been bumped up to $750 USD.
Yeah, and it's worth realizing too and remembering. I think that those prices are new prices for both the Xbox and the PS Pro. The PS5 Pro. Those have only been very recently bumped up, and so I think that there is going to be. I think you're right, Federico. I don't know where that magic number is, but I do feel like if they get up above 800, it's going to be a pretty tough sell, I would think.
So my ideal scenario at this point, given what they have said, my ideal scenario would be $699.
That's the exact price I was about to say. Yes.
Yep.
I think they're gonna do $799. So I think it's gonna be
so?
eight. I don't want it, but I think they will do it.
Yeah.
And then the 1 terabyte will be like 900.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so.
I could see $699, $799 for that. I mean, ideal optimistic scenario. Because one of the things about the Steam Deck and the reason they were able to sell it at a loss is because Steam is such a behemoth. Like, they make so much money off of every single purchase. I mean, what is it? 30% is Valve's current cut on every single sale on Steam. So you start buying a bunch of games and suddenly they make up for that very quickly. You could sell it at a loss if you wanted to. It depends on how aggressive they want to be, but it does. I think you're right, Federico. It sounds like they kind of don't want to be aggressive with this one. That's the vibe I'm getting, at least.
Unless you're going purely from a PR perspective, unless you're going for the wow effect later, and you're setting the stage now, you're gonna say, oh, we're not gonna tell you anything, but we're gonna price it like comparable spec PC, and everybody starts thinking, oh, this is gonna be expensive. Then when they come out and say, surprise everybody, it's $599, and everybody's like, oh, that's straight from Apple's playbook with the original iPad from 15 years ago. But I don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, the Steam store really is the wild card here because they do make a lot of money off of that, and you could see the a set-top box like that really driving a lot more sales to the store.
Yeah.
Because
I cannot help myself. And I'm constantly, when a prediction comes true, then my brain starts thinking about, okay, what's coming next?
What's next?
So what's next? I would not be shocked if in a couple of years, this machine is going to be subsidized by a subscription. This whole narrative and this focus, both in software, in PR communications, and in the hardware on streaming, suggests to me that they are working on a cloud streaming service of their own. I think they're working on it. I think they're making their own Game Pass or Xbox Cloud, whatever you're gonna call it, Steam Cloud Gaming, whatever. I think that's gonna happen, and I don't think it's too wild to imagine a subscription for that. That's gonna maybe we saw that model right with the Xbox. Microsoft did try some of that with the Series S a few years ago. Where
they have Game Pass is a mess now in terms of the subscription offering, but they have cloud gaming, and there are if you wanted to, you could hypothetically not even have an Xbox and be subscribed to Game Pass and still have access to all your games, because everything is an Xbox, including the Steam machine.
Sure. But essentially, I think the way that I would frame this entire thing is Valve is gonna do everything that Microsoft was supposed to do, but better.
Yeah, I think so. And that's how I got my Xbox Series X. Is I signed up for it's essentially financing where you paid a monthly fee.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, I thought so. You got you're basically paying off the Xbox and getting Xbox Ultimate, Game Pass Ultimate. And it was, if you kind of work through the math, you're getting a little bit better deal than you would have if you had just bought it straight up and then paid for the subscription for that whole time. And that, I think, makes a lot of sense for a lot of people, because all of a sudden, instead of spending $800, you're maybe spending $30 or $40 or $50 a month for a couple of years. And if you already have a big Steam library, you got to figure a lot of people are going to do the calculus and say, well, I don't even have to, I can have access to all those games right out of the box, and that's going to keep me busy for the whole time that I've got this thing and I'm paying for it. So I think it's a good strategy. I just don't think that Microsoft did a particularly good job of selling them that way.
Yeah. Imagine a version of this that's a little bit like the iPhone upgrade program as well, where every time they release a new Steam machine, they just like send it to you if you're part of this.
Yeah.
I forget. Did the Ouya try doing that? Was that an Ouya thing?
Maybe.
Speaking
maybe.
of little cubes that play video games.
Yeah, maybe.
The only company I know that does something like that right now is this camera company from France called Pixie that's like trying to compete with Leica. And anytime they release a new sensor, you can just send your camera in. They just replace the sensor for you. I think that'd be a very interesting thing for them to do here. But I could see a version of this that's closer to NVIDIA GeForce Now, Federico, where it's like it's just the games you already own. Like, you know, they're not giving you a subscription because the amount of deals you need to do with each developer and publisher and stuff to say like, oh, these games are included in a subscription is a little rough.
Yeah.
But you know, they have the library already.
Yeah. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So for now, this is a PS5 level little cube that's going to plug into your Steam account, and it's going to work together with the Steam Deck and the Steam controller and the Steam frame. I think we're going to talk about the Steam frame and the Android potential of it all on NPC XL. I do want to mention here the Steam controller. Everybody said in all the articles that I read and all the videos that I watched, everybody said that it was super comfortable. And essentially, imagine a Steam Deck without the display, and the touchpads are now slightly tilted to account for how you're holding the controller with your thumbs.
That's exactly what I want. You know,
that's exactly what I want.
Exactly.
Precisely what I want. They have this new capacitive tech to understand when you're holding the controller so that you can sort of recalibrate the gyro controls, which is, I don't know about you guys, I never ever play with gyro controls on my controllers.
Really. Not much.
If not as a demo every once in a while as a gimmick, but lots of people do apparently. So this controller is going to serve those people well. And it's basically like the whole idea of the Steam Deck, like multi-modal input. You got the D-pad, you got the joysticks. The joysticks are now TMR magnetic joysticks. They wouldn't say the supplier, which is interesting. Bluetooth, it's got the new 6 gigahertz band with a special dongle that also doubles as a magnetic recharging system, which I think it's super cool. I think obviously the controller comes bundled with the Steam machine, but you can also buy the controller separately, and you can use it with the Steam Deck in tabletop mode, obviously with the Steam machine and with the Steam frame, which is the VR headset that we're going to talk about later in XL. So far, I'm gonna buy everything. Like as soon as it's announced, like this is
frame included.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
You're
yeah.
in
Oh
on
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We're gonna talk about that later, but yes, that's gonna be my nighttime gaming.
Yeah. Can I hit you? Can I maybe just drop a bomb here? I was gonna talk about this later, but I'll throw it here.
Is it a good bomb or a bad bomb?
It's a good bomb.
Okay.
So one of the things that we had planned on talking about this week, which is, you know, serendipitous, is that I have installed the like legit fork of SteamOS on my ROG Ally X. So I was like, I'm curious, you know, it's been out for a couple of months. How's it doing? And it's great. I mean, it's amazing. It works really well. They built a build specifically for the Ally X. So like it's working great out of the box, which is nice. Really no fiddling required. But with this announcement yesterday, I was like, okay, the beta build of SteamOS has to be working on desktops, right? So I did spend last night wiping Windows off of my mini PC and installing the main build of SteamOS on it to see if it worked. And long story short, it does a lot of fiddling required, so it's not all the way there yet. It's not ready for prime time at all. But enough time spent in console, and I sure did finally get Wi-Fi working and started downloading some games. And now I have my own little cheap version of the Steam machine already. You know, I got it for $500, and I threw SteamOS on here, and now it's like working pretty well. And the bigger question that I've been asking about all of this is like, the Steam machine is cool, don't get me wrong, But if SteamOS is the thing, if it's the linchpin of all of it, then isn't it more interesting that you could just build your own Steam machine?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I feel like that to me is like the kind of pie in the sky big question that I imagine we'll be asking for the next like year to 2 years realistically.
Yeah. No, it's taken Valve quite a while to get SteamOS on non-Valve hardware, but it makes a lot of sense to start broadening those partnerships, especially with other hardware. I think the other thing about the controller too, Federico, that's kind of interesting is they're using the 6 gigahertz band, I think, for the actual streaming, and the 5 gigahertz band for things like chat and other kind of communications with the Steam machine, which I don't know, maybe that's something that's common with other systems, but it sounded clever to me.
Yeah, I think that's because they have the multiple antennas, right?
I think that's why they can do it. One antenna can handle one band, and the other can handle the other one.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the Steam machine and the Steam controller. Something that for months we've been saying, when is Valve gonna enter the console market? And even though they're not officially saying we're making a console, they are making a console. And I think if it all comes down to the pricing of it all, and it's gonna be interesting to see how they reveal, early next year the Steam machine. Probably at CES. I don't know. They said early 2026. CES is in early 2026. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I just thought about
do we have
that.
To go back to Vegas?
I think we might have to. I had actually decided this week I wasn't.
I just realized that is early 2026. So I don't know.
Never say never.
They were there last year too. That was the first year Valve was there, right?
Yeah. How portable is this? How portable is the Steam machine? That's the real question. Is it my next portable console?
6-inch cube. I don't know. It sounds pretty portable.
You get like a cool briefcase for it.
That's what I was going to say. There'll be some good accessories with the handle, so you can just walk down the street.
I just had a nice.
Oh.
Okay.
This could be my Steam machine case.
That's the president's suitcase. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice.
Okay. Or here's a free merch idea. NPC faceplates for the Steam machine.
Oh.
I'm so excited about the custom faceplates. I can't wait to see what people build.
Yeah.
Etsy's gonna go wild for that.
Oh, big time. Yes. We gotta talk about the Steam frame. We're gonna do that on NPC XL for our Patreon members. John, take us home, please.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. It's been a lot of fun. You can tell we're pretty excited. We'll have a lot more to talk about in the coming weeks about the Steam machine, the frame, and of course the controller. In the meantime, you can follow Brendon over at wavelinks.online and me and Federico at macstories.net. And of course, you can find all three of us by searching for us on social media. Talk to you later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.